Hello, everybody. This is Off the Cuff with Des and Zane. I am your host, Carissa Des,
And I'm your host, Zane Thomas.
and we have our special guest, Vnprt, also known as Vincent. How are you today?
I'm good.
Good.
Getting settled into this.
Yeah, we were just
Off
having
the
a,
cuff
a
thing.
conversation about Rugrats, and we're like, maybe
Yeah.
we should go back into music, talking about that,
What's
which
your
is,
favorite Rugrats track?
I mean, the intro song is pretty tight.
Dude,
not
for
gonna lie.
real. Yeah.
I've heard some people like sample
Flip
that.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I feel like
yeah,
that could be really
it's
fun.
a real thing. Yeah.
So you're a DJ, correct?
Yeah, amongst other things.
Okay. So tell me about some of the other things that you're doing as well.
I mean, I think I'm gonna take this from Cole Reed, a community catalyst, and by creating spaces, and curating things, whether it's for entertainment value or just giving people spaces to like incubate ideas and grow and
Yeah,
just
definitely.
real community in a sense, and
Yeah.
I think there's a so that has a lot to do with art. So it could be music, it could be event production, it could be
Yeah.
you know
Well, there's a lot of different sides of it. So I think it's really cool that like you've not only built your own platform, but you're using that platform to give other people the same space and community to feel comfortable to express themselves as well.
no, for sure.
So do you curate a lot of events and produce a lot of events?
I did a lot. I mean, leading up to the pandemic, and then even during the pandemic, there was a lot of live streaming and stuff like that. But that was kind of weird for me.
Yeah, I think it was weird for everybody.
It was
Like,
just
I
kinda
feel like everybody got burnt
feeling
out on Zoom
connected
and
stuff. It's like
yeah,
you might as well just record and mix and have them play at their house party.
Yeah.
definitely. Yeah,
So,
How do I
Unplug
hold
that?
That's fine.
okay, wait.
That's fine. Hey, welcome to Off the Cuff.
so I have a question. So I've listened to a lot of your music on your Instagram. Shout out to Vnprt, Vnport on Instagram.
Oh, Vnprt.
VNP. Did I not say that?
Without the
Oh, okay.
Without the vowels.
Right.
You
Okay.
good.
Okay. So give him a follow on Instagram, but I've been listening to your music and I really want to know the process for how you create these tracks. So it seems like you sample songs and then you kind of make them your own. And I really love your style of music because it's really like puts me in like a chill vibe.
Mm.
And it seems very positive.
There's multiple sides of like the type of music, different types of music I want to put out, but it's just kind of like where I'm at in the moment. It's like, feel good music makes people want to dance more. And, it's like, but at the same time, like when I went to Atlanta recently, like there's a space for everything. And like in places out there, you could play all these different genres.
Yeah.
And everybody's vibing. And
Yeah.
so, my goal's always been to incorporate and blend like the diaspora of just music in general. And, I feel like in a way, the way I DJ, because I do make music, I just haven't really put it out publicly.
Okay.
Some of it.
It's on the down low.
So,
All right. Well, maybe I'll hear
We're
it
releasing
sometime.
Some of it with this episode.
Nah, we'll have
He's
a
like,
project- We'll have a project before the end of the year.
Okay, a project
then-
before the end of the year.
And then
All
like
right.
putting out like flips and edits,
Nice.
and stuff like that. And then like maybe some beat stuff with just like, more sample based stuff. But as far as DJing, like I look at it as like orchestrating stuff. So it's like I might hear a sound or instrument or whatever in a certain song. You can, mix your high, mids, and lows when you're DJing to like omit certain frequencies.
Sure.
Be like, oh, I just want to hear the hi-hats. You
Right.
can do, you can kind of do that just with your mixer and your controller. So that's how I play. I blend a lot of things together.
So you kind of like, it's almost like production, like live production, where you're like, yo, give me this from here, give me this from
In
here,
a way,
and let's
yeah.
stack it.
So it's like, sometimes when I'm DJing, it's like, it seems like I'm very just focused on what I'm doing is because like, it is off the cuff. It's not like, oh, I just created.
Not like you just push the button and the song plays.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's not just like I just have this whole crate and I'm just gonna go down a list of songs and play them. It's like I might pick one or two songs. I might be like, what song do I want to start with? And then I'll just go through my library and just like, because for me, I don't want to make it boring for myself.
Yeah. No,
So it's like if you
that's
DJ
important.
a lot, it's like, okay, I'm gonna
Make it interesting. Yeah.
I like that you said that you make it interesting for yourself, because I feel like that's something that you have to do when you're being creative, is that like if you're not excited about it, how are you supposed to expect other people to be excited about it?
Yeah,
So.
definitely.
I got burned out with it before.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
it's one of
even
those things
doing
you
things
have
we love,
to-
we get burnt out on, I think.
creating that balance, you know, not always being overly invested in certain situations. I think as creatives, like when you're doing things, you're
This has to work.
you know, and the thing is, 9 times out of 10, people love what you did, and you're just like, it's not the way I want it to be, and it's like nobody knows but you.
Yeah.
Or the small few people you talk to.
Right. And it's like based on their like other people's interpretation too. I mean, that's all art really. Like you come with a certain vibe and then everybody interprets it their own way.
Yeah.
So you come in and you have a crate full of records, you put on one record and then you kind of mix it and add like bring like different song or like sounds out of it and like, or add sounds to it. So, I'm just like really curious about that part of it. Cause I watched you and I'm like, how does he do this?
I know rap, I don't know DJing.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as me DJing personally, when I play my records, some songs I blend together, but a lot of times it's also just curating. Like when you have like records are made for albums, there's different transitions from one song to the next, things like that. You can play off of that and blend the next track in too.
Yeah,
like I might blend a song that's total different BPMs than the previous song, but there's like the transition that
works.
makes it work. And you can,
right.
Again, blend your high, mids, and lows, use effects or whatever, depending on your mixer, and you can make that happen. But like when I DJ digitally, most of the time to keep it interesting, I am blending them all from different tracks. So like I have a 4-channel mixer, I could potentially blend 4 songs at the same time.
Yeah. No, I think that's really cool that you sorry. I think I think it's really cool that you are able to like mix in that way, just because I always like listen to a song and when it like another song plays into it and I'm like, man, that sounded perfect. You know what I mean? And it's like a coincidence, right? Like I think it's cool that you can like go out and you can find it and you're like, all right, maybe the album has it playing in this order and it works, but like maybe I have a better song or a different song that like kind of keeps that energy going.
Yeah. I think it takes like I've gone to many like live shows and like many DJ sets, and sometimes I'm like, wow, this song is great and so is this song, but the transition was horrible. And like I always notice that too. I'm like, how is every transition horrible? So I think that's like one of the things that makes a great DJ is like knowing how to progress into the next song. Do you feel like you've gotten better at that as you've been practicing? I mean, probably, but
I feel like I practice when I'm working.
Okay.
Yeah.
But at this point, I probably should be practicing. There's so many things I'm working on right now that like, DJing is like a way to, make money and survive. And it's like, I like doing it, but at the same time, like there's other things I'm working on. So I'd rather put more time to making music than just sitting and practicing DJing. But I think I have gotten better over time just from experiences of like even just dealing with the public.
Yeah. People coming up and saying, hey, can you play Backstreet Boys song?
Yeah, and the thing is, like, you get on autopilot you tell people no, you're on autopilot with it, but then there's times where I'm just like, you know what, let me just hear somebody out. And it's also about the approach. Like, I've had situations where,
it's not the ask, it's how they ask.
Most of the time, it's like people came up to me, I was playing Halo last night, I was playing vinyl, and I'm like, people are seeing me play vinyl, but I guess they still didn't put 2 and 2 together. They still thought I was like
we went top 40.
Yeah,
it wasn't even that.
Pull up your playlist.
They were enjoying themselves, but the person came up and was like, "Hey, can I make a request?" I said, "I mean, you can, but I'm playing records." They were like, "Oh, you're playing records?" I'm like, "Yeah." So it's like, but it's like, then they're like, "Oh wow, I didn't even know that." So they were just thinking I was playing off the computer. Then they're like, "Oh wait, you're playing off of records, that's really awesome." And then it was a whole nother conversation.
It's better tip your ass after that. Like,
I mean,
yeah. Like doing all that and then being able to have a conversation at the same time, I feel like it's really difficult. That's why I always leave DJs alone, like unless I've had a few drinks and I'm like,
no, you're one of them.
No, usually I don't. Usually don't. Like it takes. I'm not.
Dad says no. Actually, takes a couple of.
I think it depends on the space. Like Halo is different. Like Halo is a different vibe where it's like if somebody comes up and talks to me, like I'm setting a tone in the space. It's not like I'm just throwing a party or
Mhm.
whatever. So I am more open to talking in those spaces.
Yeah.
If it's, a bigger place, like when, I was playing Dig a Pony and stuff, it's like, it's so loud. There's so many people.
Right.
It's like,
you kind of just have to like stay on your like, all right, I need to make sure that the vibe of this room, that's the biggest thing with like DJing for me, is that like I hate playing my music for other people. You know what I mean? Where it's just, oh yeah, because it's like, I love this song. Now I'm going to give it to you for you to interpret and be like, yeah, this song got me through a tough time. It's like, I hate it. It's like, oh, cool. Glad I played it for you.
Well, so you mean like a song you
it's
made,
like
or one of your
like one of my favorite songs?
It's about like reading the room. Is that what you mean? Like,
yeah, I get. Well, it's just being able to like read the room and be able to like carry the vibe. Because it's like, if everyone's having a good time and then I play a whack song and everyone's not having a good time, I'm like, this is because I played a whack song. You know what I mean? So that's I internalize.
I feel
it
you
too
on
much.
that. I feel you on that, and I think for me it was creating a balance, because like I like doing what I like doing. I like playing a bunch of different things that I think people out of town and out of the country appreciate more sometimes. So it's kind of like one of those things where, like what I was saying about people's approaches, previously. I remember the first time somebody like really tipped me in a very genuine way. They just shot me $20, said, I appreciate what you're doing, thanks. Then they came back later and was like, hey, like, and it was like, at that point, it's like, you already showed your appreciation. I think a lot of times people just come up and they expect for you to just adhere to what they want you to play. And it's like one of those things where we have to change what's customary. Like, you go to a bartender, it's customary to tip most of the time. Right. You're not gonna second guess that.
Sure.
The DJ is like, you should just have it, because nowadays people can stream music and DJ it that way.
Yeah.
And I don't. I collect my music, whether it's digitally or whatever. Yeah. It means I get it, but like, what are you gonna do when you don't have Wi-Fi? You can't stream the music no more.
Yeah.
So like, still have some sort of physical or even like a digital hard drive of music. Yeah. So I don't know. It's just
I like what you said just about like the whole tipping aspect, because it's like tattoo artists are people I tip, sound engineers are people I like, the sound people running sound, because it's like, if also shout out to Philip who's running sound. You know what I mean? Like,
tip him, tip Halo Space.
Tip Halo Space. But yeah, just like making sure that like you're taking care of the people who are taking care of you. Because with music, there's so many levels of it, and there's just, I guess, art in general, because we as artists, we never really. I mean, I guess DJing is a little bit different, because you kind of do see that money back, like there's still that money that you spent on the mixer, that you spent on the turntables, that you spent on the laptop. There's a lot of money that goes into that, but there's a little bit more potential for you to make your money back, as to where like I tell jokes. It's like, if they don't want my jokes, then I don't have anywhere to sell these jokes. So I think that just being able to like respect like the art and be able to give people just that little bit of extra to show your appreciation for like them, almost controlling the vibe of the room for that night. So
yeah, definitely. I have some questions, kind of like to change direction. Who inspired you? I always ask this. Who inspired you when you were younger to make music and like make art? Like what musician or artist or DJ?
It's not one thing. I mean, since I was a kid, I was digging for music,
like records?
No, I didn't start buying records till later on. But like when I say digging, it's like buying CDs, or like telling my grandma I want this CD or whatever. I remember she would get the Columbia House thing. You know how
me too. Like $1. I'm like, how the hell did they?
After that, it's like they keep sending you stuff, and if you don't send it back, they charge you, full price. Yeah. So like,
nice of them.
I would ask my grandma like, hey, like, and I remember like Jamiroquai and stuff like that. I was like, can I get this? And like, she'd be like, okay. And like, my mom had me young, and so like I bounced around a lot, because like, I'll go visit my dad, my mom. My auntie lived in New York. So in the summertime, I was just jet setting. They had the little chaperone with you. And I would just have my CD case and just listen to music. I think I always listen to music in a way of like, this is really dope. This would be tight if they did a version like this too, So I was already thinking that way as a kid. So, before I saw it was possible where people were making flips and edits all the time, it was like, I was already... Simple.
And when you say flips and edits, just so that I can make sure that I understand, that's kind of like remixes,
like speeding it up, slowing it down.
Because back in the day, remixes you got paid to do.
Okay.
And now it's changed to where it's like
Yeah, it's
It was
tip
like
of
a
the
big
hat to
deal
the
before.
song.
They were like,
Yeah,
"This is
they
the
pay, like, the
remix."
top producers to remix
Yeah.
this and
Yeah.
this. Like you will buy a separate album or like
Yeah.
EP that's just remixes. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. No, I'm trying to get familiar with
CDs
the
are still
lingo.
mad expensive now.
Really?
Like,
Are they?
Really?
there's
Oh,
certain
good thing I still
CDs
have some of mine.
There's some CDs like, you know, especially if you got a different version, like an international version, they go up.
Yeah, I think they're coming back too, is what I heard. VHS tapes, CDs are coming back, and I just got rid of most of mine.
Yeah.
Damn it.
I don't have anything to play them with.
Well, my car has a CD player, so.
But yeah, to bring it back, I guess I don't know. I think it was just always instilled in me, in general, and it was kind of like believing that I could do it.
Yeah.
Was the thing. Like, what's holding you back from doing it? You know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, especially the fact that you were able to take that as something that you had an interest in when you were younger, and then you were able to like maintain that same interest and that same enthusiasm and be able to build on that and be like, okay, yeah, I like music, but what do I want to do with it? Do I want to produce my own music? Do I want to rap? Do I want to, you know, where do you want to go with it? And I think it's really cool that you found the direction, you know, and even if you've kind of like danced around a little bit, if you started off DJing and now you're producing, or you start off producing and now you're DJing, I think it's, you know.
I think DJing at this point is another like skill set or tool in your tool belt.
Should be, yeah.
And so, you know, it's always going to exist for me. But you know.
So what about like production? Is that's something that you're working with?
He said it was kind of hush hush, but.
I mean,
Are you going to be singing on your tracks?
I brought it up in this interview, so
you heard it here first.
no, like, you know, so in my journey of just like really opening up to music, like I've been working with actual musicians, like, you know, doing Vnprt and Friends, where you know, essentially I'm just curating the set list and being like, hey, you know, asking the homies who's available to come play and be like, hey, I want us to work on this, and this.
Yeah.
And, you know, we might practice one time before. I think one time we didn't even practice before and did it.
Okay.
But it was like, I sent them the tracks. I'm like, just study the tracks, whatever. And it was just dope because, you know, they approached me as another musician. It wasn't just like, you know, people say DJ. But it's like, when musicians hear me play in my sets, they understand, I think, things other people don't pay attention to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they're just like, oh, we need to do some work together.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Yeah,
You get
I
that
definitely
vibe.
have noticed that you have a unique style. And I wasn't sure if I should say DJ or music
I am.
producer because
I
I
am a
mean,
DJ, but-
yeah, I mean you're a DJ, but I feel like it's unique and different from the other DJs that I've heard and seen. So
I appreciate that.
it's a whole vibe. I love it.
I think so with that being said, it's like with the production side, it's like now going from scratch in the sense of like there's still inspiration from songs and stuff like that, but it's like it's not like when you're mixing, you're like, these two things exist, let me make something that doesn't exist. It's more like, oh, I might have some elements, I might get some samples, right? Or I might just play some keys, like some melodies or chords, just to get an idea of where I want to go.
Sure.
And then like, you know, I think, and then like getting to the point where I can just reach out to my friends and be like, hey, I did this, and this, you know, this swing that I have going on is dope, but I don't like the percussion on it. Like,
Yeah, I
let
like
me hit
that.
up the homie and have him
For sure.
slice it up.
Well,
Yeah.
So it'd be a collaborative thing too. I always wanted to do a compilation,
yeah.
and I think what held me
sounds cool.
back was not my friend who is highly invested in me as far as like being an artist in music, and was like, I would actually like to see you do your own thing first, and if you want to collaborate with people on your own project, dope. And I was like, you know what, let me do that.
Yeah.
So you know, I've been talking about a compilation for years.
Yeah. So you mean like, so Vnprt and Friends would be like you almost like orchestrating everything and then being like, hey, so you do keys really well, can you do keys on this track? So you can almost like credit each person and be like, yo, so this.
I think that would be another project.
Okay.
After that, Vnprt and Friends is just like a
Yeah.
thing about me working with musicians and having those other tools in the tool belt to be like, all right, like let's collaborate on this and that. So there's different ways of working. You can be like, hey, we're gonna go to this studio, we're gonna have an incubation period, and we create something from scratch.
Sure.
Then there's other situations where it's like, I already have this played out,
I just need
but
to
it's
play
just
it.
like, Yeah, and then that's a different type of accreditation.
Yeah,
But it's like also easier work for them, and they get paid as like a
session player. Yeah,
player and things like that. But I'm working on doing both of those things. So there's like a bunch of different projects. But the first one, I have a couple of friends that are singers I want on there. The genres are different. There's gonna be some house stuff on there for sure.
Cool.
And like I could say it's a full circle moment. And so after that project, then like whether it's called Vnprt and Friends or not, like
it's
there
a
will
pretty
be
sweet
something
name.
like
It's a
that.
pretty sweet name. I like it.
I mean,
it's pretty sweet.
I don't like using my, it's weird with identity. I don't like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I personally like having the idea of having a different name for when you're performing, because it's almost like it's not like you're a different person, but like this is your stage self. And we talked with A Revolution about that. No, you're just more of yourself, I think, on stage. You're more like your extroverted self. So I totally understand that. And you got your name from Vnprt, which I like learned the history of in 2020. Like we did a couple like BLM events over there, and where we like learned about the history and everything. So is there like some deeper importance to why you chose that name?
I just think it's interesting that Portland, Oregon is like the focal point of a lot of things these days. When like moving around a lot, like I would live a year up here or two with my grandparents and then move down south and then go back and forth. I was like in Atlanta. I lived in Florida for a little bit, and in my younger years, I was in Mississippi for a while.
Okay.
And it was interesting because every time I would say Portland, they say Portland, Maine.
Oh man,
They always said that.
Really?
I was like,
yeah, nowhere. Washington D.C. Oh my god, yeah. No,
So
I have a friend who has a joke about that.
So it's one of those things where it's like, what's home for me? I moved around a lot.
Yeah.
And it's like, I realized like a lot of my places that have been are my homes.
Yeah.
And Vnprt is doesn't just symbolize this one place. Like there was plenty other places like Vnprt around the country, when it comes to just like the exodus of Black folks coming from the South.
Can I say that I don't know what Vnprt is, and everyone forgives me?
No, you can't.
Well, at least I have.
It's okay. Well, maybe you'd be a better give a better explanation of it. But it's so. Well, I know that Black people were not allowed to own property in Portland, or maybe even in all of Oregon, or just like the Portland area until like the 1950s.
Okay.
And I'm not sure. I forget exactly. Maybe you can give us a little bit more info on that.
So
Vnprt was a place where they could buy property first, right?
So Kaiser had a shipyards up here, and so they needed people to come up there to work. And so essentially, I don't know the specifics about the homeowning situation. I know that Kaiser pretty much built Vnprt essentially, as far as like the communities and stuff, so people can come live there while they're working in the shipyards.
Okay.
The schools were desegregated, so it was like the first desegregated schools in Oregon, I believe. But the neighborhoods were still like segregated by like, the white family was on this block, you had Black families on this block type thing. But like, and so, yes, it was like when I say the exodus, when like Black folks was coming up north, it was kind of like, a lot of them went to Chicago, some went to New York, a lot went to California, and then like going to Portland, that was the
okay.
So like I remember like my aunt Diane that lives up here used to work with my grandpa Fat from my dad's side,
Right.
so like in Mississippi. So like there's this whole thing.
That's a trip.
Yeah. So when my grandma came up here, my aunt Diane eventually came up, and then like there was like all of our family from down there was up there on that side. Actually, I think my aunt Diane might have went up there first. Let me not be wrong. But yeah. But there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of history to the name.
Yeah, definitely.
So I just chose the name to be like, we exist here, because a lot of times people come here and say, where the Black people at? And I'm like, I feel you. But
As
I'm
a
like,
Black person, I've asked that question, but
You have to know the history of Portland.
but it's like growing
to
up
understand,
here, like,
really.
like people were more centralized. So it's like when you get dispersed, it's like, yeah, like your cousin still lives in the vicinity, but instead of them being down the street, they're in Gresham or some shit.
yeah.
So
Yeah. So I know that you were involved in like the protests a little bit when, like in 2020, right? Like your music somehow you're involved, right? Is it,
I
did
feel
you, have you
like
used like your music as art to
I
like
feel like
bring?
during the protest, I wasn't really in it in a
Mm-hmm.
sense of like being on the streets with it. I think for
Mm-hmm.
me, I felt like it was important to let Black people know that like you don't necessarily have to be in the streets
Mm-hmm.
for
Mm-hmm.
this situation,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
but if you choose to, I support you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people dealing with mental health, people trying
Mm-hmm.
to, this is during pandemic,
Yeah.
so it's like people are trying to figure out what their next, during that time when the pandemic hit, I already had an idea of where I was about to be in the next year or two. And,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
and then I was like, oh, wait a minute.
Yeah.
This gotta, So I was just like, I think for me doing the music and stuff, I think it created space for people to like feel a sense of connection.
Mm-hmm.
I know I did the Juneteenth thing, and that was like just a last minute thing somebody asked me to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but ultimately I was more so into like the self-care and healing aspect,
Yeah.
connecting
Yeah.
with people on that level and being like, hey, you know, I know what you're going through is going to cause a lot of trauma and PTSD.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We should be creating spaces for people
Yeah.
to heal.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
That's something that Zane focuses on too in
Yeah.
his music.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important.
Well, I mean, it's like, especially with the protests and stuff, when that happened, like I didn't have a car. I didn't have like access to being able to like going out and being in the streets. And even if I had a car, it's like, how do I get home? So it was my contribution was my music. I was able to like take my song, Say His Name, and be able to perform this in front of people and just like get them hyped up and be like, even though I can't be out there, that doesn't mean I can't contribute. So I think it's cool that you were able to find something that, that you were, that you didn't just say, I can't contribute. You said, this is what I can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Not everybody even has the privilege to be out there. Like, a lot of people had to work still. And,
Yeah,
I wasn't
definitely.
hating on those people.
Yeah.
To change direction again, do you have any projects that you're working on? Well, you did talk about your album that you're wanting to put out. Can you tell us about the shows that are coming up? You just did Hey Love last night, like you said, and then I think you have 2 more coming up this month, right? Am I wrong?
I have a few. I'm at Church Bar. This is an off day, but I think afterwards it's gonna be every second Saturday.
Okay.
I believe, or something
Church
like
Bar?
that. Yeah. It's gonna be.
Congratulations.
Check it out.
We have a long history.
That can either be good or bad.
I don't know anything about history. So Church Bar, I mean, they have new owners now, but like when I first started going to church, well, not the first time, when I started to try to find my own spaces to create my own things, because like it was really hard for me to, I guess, be booked based off of how open format I was, because people don't know what to expect, and it's like you have to build a rapport for people to trust the process.
Yeah.
And be like, oh, he can read the room.
Yeah, like this is the creative process.
So it's like
yeah.
I wasn't really big on boxing myself in.
Yeah.
So I ended up, I was like, yo, let me just go DJ somewhere on a Tuesday or Wednesday and play what I want to play. They can understand that I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then I reached out to the owner at the time, Steven, and he was like, yeah, cool, come through. And then I was like, hey, like, I would really love to help you with your program and booking and stuff like that. So then that happened. So it was one of those situations where I had, I was definitely invested in it in a certain amount of in a certain way. And then like eventually I phased out because I got burnt out. And then, yeah, it was one of those times where it's like I probably was DJing so much.
Yeah.
Like, you're doing great. You're always DJing.
Oh man.
Like I don't sleep.
Yeah.
I would rather DJ less and get paid more.
Yeah.
Like,
Look at how much you're doing. It's like, this is how much I have to do just to make anything.
But no, it's one of those things where, and during that, I mean, I definitely get paid differently now than I did at that time. But it's one of those things where you had to like energetically make that decision of like, okay, how do I want to go about this? I need to like dial back, not play out as much, because that's the thing too is people are like, I can see you next time. I can, and it's like.
Oh, you mean like people not going out to stuff because they're like, oh, I'll just catch you next time because you're doing so much.
Yeah, that's what it's saying. You're doing so good.
Yeah.
It's like, to be honest,
Yeah.
like, I mean,
I would rather only have one and you actually show up instead of being like, oh, just be the next one. It's like, no,
Yeah.
you won't be at that one either.
I don't necessarily care if people show up or not, but I know there's people that intend to. Like, I'm one of those people that do it. The reason why I acknowledge it is because, like, I do it. If I know somebody's doing something all the time, I'm probably going to prioritize something that doesn't happen as often.
Yeah.
That's just
that
human
makes
nature.
sense.
So
No,
I'm not
it's a good
saying
way
it to
put
be
it. No, it's a good way to put it. It's,
You know what I mean?
I definitely, I don't know. Like, I stopped getting, like, I guess, upset that people didn't show up to things because it's like I had to understand that, like, yeah, like, it's as much as I have stuff going on, they also have things going on.
Exactly.
So, you know, just having that kind of just compassion to be like, all right, if you make it, it means the world. If you don't make it, you know, it's not the end of the world. So,
Yeah, definitely.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, does it go
You
both
can.
ways?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, no. So I see you're big in the music scene. You love going to shows.
True.
What's the connection with that? Like,
I just love music, and for me, when I've been in a really rough spot, like mentally in my life, you know, everybody has trauma right now because of COVID and all the other things. And for me, it's always been my escape. Or it's like, you know, just been like the light at the end of the tunnel for me. I've like dabbled in music a little bit. I used to freestyle a little bit and I make beats sometimes, but nobody ever hears that shit. But yeah, so for me, maybe we'll see. But yeah, I just like, and also I just like vibe with other artists. So yeah, this was always the direction I was going, I guess, was to have a show to talk to other artists and like boost them up and just like learn more about their process and everything. What about you, Zane? Well, I guess it's not the same question, right?
I think it's the same thing, kind of, you know, just in the sense of like, you know, what's music's importance to me, correct? Yeah, I don't want to ask your question for you. Right?
hey, respond the way you want to respond.
I was just done with my answer, so I was like, next guy. That's Mike.
What do I do?
You want a personalized question?
No.
Let's give Zane a personalized
like
question.
it.
Let's sing.
Yeah, sure. Interview me.
I mean,
You should do this at the end of every episode.
Honest, I feel bad. I'm just learning that you're a musician.
Yeah.
Like I told you when I came in here that like I saw you. Was it the semifinals?
Yeah.
I don't want to bring up the.
No, totally fine. Yeah, Portland's funniest and everything.
Yeah,
and
funniest
so
guy in town.
I remember going there with who was I with? It was one of my homies. I think they were a comedian as well. And I was like, this dude is killing it. So, you know, and then I didn't realize you did music. So
yeah.
I guess, how long have you been making music?
So
what's the type of, I don't like to ask people what type of music they make, but what's the energy of it?
Yeah. Okay. So those are both good questions. So as long as I've been making music for probably about 15 years, or I've been like interested in making music, I've been writing raps and doing stuff like that. I never really took it seriously, only because my heart was in it, you know, like if you don't like my joke, whatever, you know, I'll tell another one, you know, it's fine. But if you don't like my song, like I had to write that, I had to rewrite that, I had to make the beat, I had to hate the beat, I had to remake the beat, I had to get somebody, I had to, you know what I mean? There's so many levels that like, by the time you release that 3-minute song and somebody's like, just destroys me. So I had a really hard time with releasing music, just because, and my music's very emotional. When you ask about the energy, I talk a lot about mental illness, talk about recovery, I talk about like redemption and just, you know, we're just becoming a better person. And there's a lot of my heart in it. So when it's well received, it means the world. But when it's not, I get nervous for it. And it's honestly, everybody who I've shown my music to, they've been really impressed with it. So it's you know, it's just believing in yourself, believing in yourself as much as other people believe in you.
Exactly. I was going to say, like, you know, I had to work on not focusing on people that aren't giving me the, what's the word?
Recognition.
Recognition or just confirmation is like I have confirmation within myself. Like, I don't need to, you know, and the thing about it is you putting that out, there's going to be people that relate to it, that need it.
Yeah.
And you might not notice them in the crowd of people that are like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Or, man. And sometimes your biggest fans aren't people that live in your hometown.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's like, you know, people that resonate across the world, you know, you travel, you know, music is universal. So.
Well, yeah, no, it's there's people who've been reaching out and been like, oh, you know, I saw your thing about the podcast, and it's just like, why didn't you like it? I mean, you know, you become surprised by the people, you know, and even you saying that like you'd see me do comedy, you know, like there's this. I never think that somebody remembers that, but that could be somebody's like a very distinct memory, of me. So it's trying to like, it's not seeing yourself through other people's eyes in the negative sense, but like in the positive sense. Because I feel like when we see ourselves through other people's eyes, it's always like, oh, they think negative of me. What do they blah blah blah? But it's never like, oh, my friends really think I'm awesome. I should think I'm awesome.
Yeah.
Have you had like really encouraging friends as far as that aspect of it? Like have you had to prove yourself, or have people always just kind of been like, yeah, let's do it?
Well, reiterate.
So, like, have you had like a supportive friend base, as far as like your pursuits in music?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we have a really big, music community here, and like I said, there's a lot of musicians like that are touring musicians and stuff like that encourage me to make music. So
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Awesome. So speaking of thinking of the way that people are seeing you, I'm going to turn it around and ask, where do you see yourself in the near future? Or do you have even like an idea of where you see yourself musically? Like next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now.
5 years.
Just musically.
They're narrowing it down to just music.
I mean, I see myself making music because I love making it, and money will come from it, but it's not that I'm making music for that. So I think it's an energetic exchange. Like,
Yeah,
put
I like that.
your intentions into making the music, and the right people will connect with it. And that's just where I see myself, for the time being.
Yeah.
And that includes even then, I would hope to keep that mindset, to keep the passion in what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, I think even I was in a Lyft ride, and I was talking to somebody about art, and they were just saying that like once you put the pressure of like your art making your money, then it almost becomes, there's too much pressure on it, so like you can't enjoy it. It's like, I have to make this good so that I can make money. But it's like, if you're just doing it for the energy exchange, like you said, then you can start seeing you getting it back.
Like, think about artists. Like, I always love like their first 2 albums or something, and the third album. And the thing is, though, it's like the politics of music and stuff. You never know. They might have just put out a shitty album because they're trying to get out of their contract. Oh, this is my last album. Here you go.
Yeah. I never thought of that.
All that stuff, But also, like, the passion was different. That first album was probably 10 years in the making, or 5 years in the making.
Yeah.
That first album that everybody recognized.
Like, you're putting your soul
the first
into
album's
it.
never the first album.
Yeah.
The first album, when you're on the label,
that's the first album
you drop. Yeah, exactly. They probably dropped 8 albums.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where the passion was there, and it's like, I don't want to lose that, because I think when there's times where I did focus on just, oh, I should be making this much, this and that, because you see yourself not being valued in certain ways. And it's like, again, you're focusing on even if it's real, it's like you're not looking at the abundance on the other side, where it's like, oh snap, I got support systems throughout the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
In different places in the country and even the world at this point, where it's like, yo, you want to crash on my couch and come stay for a week? Come through.
Yeah.
Let's get some work done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah. So it kind of sounds like not being like a real music artist, but from like the people who I've talked to, it seems like for me, music is almost therapy for me. Is it almost therapeutic as the artist, the musician as well? You said it's like an exchange of energy.
When I started DJing, I think 6 months in, I dealt with a lot of stuff, like just a lot of change, trauma and stuff. And like, I do feel like it helped me just zone in, or zone out, or zone in into the frequencies of the music, and really get into it. I think it does have a lot to do with the way I play, because I do feel like I kind of zone out.
Yeah. No, I like that. I like how it's kind of like the zone out, zone in, because it's just trying to figure out how to process that. I think that, it's really important to have like that emotional connection to what you're doing, because if you're not doing it because it makes you happy, or you're not doing it because it energizes you, if you're not doing it for those reasons, then it's just, you're looking at a song and you're like, is it a banger? No, then why did I do it? So as far as like production, what are your goals, as far as like, do you want to learn a new instrument? Do you want to, are you just trying to
start singing?
Yeah, there you go. Shook his head super quick.
I want to hear you sing.
This question, like,
I'm like, are you gonna sing yet?
Yeah,
Because you have a nice voice. I feel
I
like you have a good
I used to
singing
sing in
voice.
choir before.
See? I knew it.
Puberty.
Oh, okay.
Start cracking and stuff. I think, maybe, who knows?
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it. I think eventually I would use it as an instrument of some sort.
Instrument, yeah.
Yeah, like I, get confident enough to do that.
You wouldn't be a singer. You would be a producer that sings.
I mean, I could see myself even being a songwriter, but not singing and shit.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know, like sing it for somebody else to sing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, essentially, when you're writing stuff, it's like I'm not gonna write the words for you, but I can get the melody right.
Yeah.
Something, like
Absolutely.
and that's how I'm approaching it with this project. Is I'm making stuff, and it's like, hey, I really think you would work well with this. Like, you want to write to it, and be like, okay. When I meet up with them, I'll be like, hey, if you're having trouble with it, I was thinking this melody or whatever.
Yeah.
Bam. And it's like collaborating in that way. Like very curatorial. I don't know, like I'm open to anything.
For sure.
I realize that the tools I have right now is all I need to like at least roll out this project.
That's what's up.
So
That's
instead of me
That's a
trying to
good
jump
attitude.
onto the next thing and be like, let me learn this and that, it's like, I'm
Got
playing
it.
the keys by ear. Like I don't know how to play piano, but like if something sounds good, I'm gonna try it.
Hey,
Like
that's what you
some of
need.
my favorite producers I realize don't know music. DJ
They don't know how to
Tump.
read it, but they just like hear it.
DJ Tump
feel
was
it,
like,
yeah.
you don't know how to know how to read music or play piano. Use your ears.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, that's how I do it.
Yeah.
so,
Find the sound.
so that's where I'm at. Where like I, over the past year or so, I've been like looking at a bunch of interviews of producers I fucked with, and just like the algorithms like, you want to see this, don't you?
Hey.
And so then like, yeah, it was just reaffirmed that like, no, do it the way you were supposed to do it. Don't worry about the vibe of how things are in Portland, let's say, where it's like you have to play a certain type of way. Like when you go other places, people appreciate that.
Yeah.
And it's like I can compartmentalize like my services at this point. I won't say, oh, I'll never do this or I'll never do that. It's more like,
Using
oh,
your
you want me
strengths.
to do this? This is what you're gonna pay me for this as a private gig or whatever. Cool, I'll do that.
Yeah.
But it was like working on separating people. People have to understand Vnprt as a brand is bigger than a DJ.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's the thing that I'm working on, where it's just like keeping that separate, but still being able to like make money on both sides of the coin.
No, I think you're definitely going at it from the right angle with, and I like what you said is recognized as a brand, not as, a singular, occupation.
And that leaves you room to grow too, which I think that's really smart.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, dude, it was super dope having you.
Yeah,
It was
are there
it was
any-
really nice meeting you formally.
Yeah, same.
Right.
Yeah, we've been following each other, and I've been listening to your stuff for a while, so it's nice to finally meet you in person. And you're even cooler than I thought you would be. So there's that. Is there anything that you want to leave us with on the show, or tell people, tell the
Shout out
audience?
those
handles? Yeah, the Instagram handle we already got.
Yeah, Instagram
have,
at
like, a SoundCloud?
VNPRT. SoundCloud is VNPRT. See?
Now I got you all mixed up. Now you have to change the spelling of it.
Reference the
Mess
first
it up.
one. Yeah.
Look, just look up VNPRT. You can go on my IG and the link to SoundCloud's on there.
Yep.
Make it easier.
Check out the link tree. That's
Yeah.
Actually,
It's
real
all there.
quick,
Yeah, check it out,
Linktree did me
always.
dirty. I was paying for it.
They did me dirty too.
I was
They
paying
did that
for
too.
it, right?
Oh,
and then
shit.
it stopped working. Like my links weren't working and stuff.
Okay.
And my account got locked, or they gave me like, they put me in like, yeah,
Like purgatory?
shit. Yeah, like I could only react to DMs or respond to DMs. I couldn't like or comment on stuff or post stuff. And then when I took the link tree off my thing, then it worked again.
Weird.
Yeah.
Instagram did that? That's weird.
Yeah, it was weird. I was just like, I pay for this service. What do you mean? And I Googled about it, and it says, yeah,
This is a common problem.
There's a beef between IG and Linktree, but Linktree ain't doing nothing about it and still charging people.
Maybe I need to switch over. There's another one. I wish I could shout it out, but I might
Wait,
try.
I feel bad.
It's like a
'cause
link tree.
I'm over here naming stuff. This is a podcast. You guys don't pay for this shit.
Sponsored by Linktree. Not anymore.
They were our sponsor.
Yeah.
But
But yeah,
No.
Thank you guys so much.
Yeah,
thank you so much for
Yeah,
taking time
absolutely.
to come and talk with us.
Yeah, I'm glad it worked out because I didn't realize it was live till today.
Hey. Well, no, you did.
It
You
makes it
did
more
great.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. We'll see you next time. And
This is another episode of Off the Cuff with Des and Zane.
yes, I have been Zane Thomas,
And I've been Carissa Des. And this is our special guest again,
Vnprt.
better known as Vincent. Also known as, not better known as. That's a wrap. Peace, love, donuts.
Pew pew.
Bye.